So I stayed on as president for a very short period of time. My head was not going to stay in that game. What I did understand, and again, you got to really. I'm going back in my head right now as we're talking.
Yeah.
And I'm just going through the playbook of mentally, emotionally, physically, all those things going on at my house, right?
Yep.
Talking to my wife, talking to my partner, talking to these new partners, and knowing now and understanding more that if you stay in specific spots inside this new entity, and we roll it fairly quickly, and 2 years to me is fairly quickly.
Oh yeah.
You're going to end up staying, right?
Okay.
The odds are that you're going to end up keeping a seat for even longer, and I absolutely wanted to enjoy the graduation and not delay it.
Got it. But you sold once, but then you sold again. So
Correct.
how did the second time happen?
Yeah, so on the second time, I didn't have a seat at the leadership table at the end, so there's no reason for me to be asked to stay. I'm going to call it the Kumbaya dinner, where that the funds are going to be transferred the next day, so everybody's going to get wired their money. And we were at Morton Steakhouse, and the buyer, which was Equity One, said, "Listen, you don't have you're not going to participate and come over physically. Why don't you stay?" And I asked him. I said, "Well, what would I do?" Because people who are in those positions currently, we're good people, and why would I displace anybody?
Right.
And I wanted out.
Yeah.
And he said to me, he goes, "Listen," he said, "you opened up 9 offices in 6 states." And he said, "We're going to want to open up the West Coast, the East Coast, and the Florida, Georgia region." And I said, "Does that mean I'm going to be on a plane like 4 or 5 days a week?" And he said, "Yeah." I said, "Well, I just made my wife a promise that I'm not going to travel, because I traveled, I was never home."
Yeah. Yep.
I said, "I just made her a promise I'm not going to travel, and now you're offering me a chance to travel. I'm going to give you her number, and you can call her." He said, "No." And I said, "I'm not going to call her either." So, but he was nice about it. He said, "Listen," he goes, "would you want to carve out?" And I knew what they're going to do, right? They're going to bolt on some other companies that we had talked about, and they're going to go back out to market, which they did in 2019. So I gave them a number what I'd be comfortable with. They took that number, and it worked out very well.
That's great. So we would call that the second bite of the apple, right, on their sale. So you had equity in the overall platform. They're bolting it on. Presumably EBITDA, revenue going up, value of the company is going up. And that was, I think, if I read it right, that was 2017, and then they sold again in 2019.
Correct.
Right? So you get that second check.